Hello, everybody. My name is DeLois. I am an alcoholic. I am certainly qualified to stand up here. And last time I did this a few years ago up here, I think I was up here for about 30 minutes, spent 25 minutes crying, and then actually talked for 5. I'm going to try real hard not to do that tonight. But I am a very grateful member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I had to say this, Brad, I'm getting a hearing aid soon. I'm not happy. Yeah, exactly. That's the point. Everybody at work, I'm going, you got to talk up over the radio. I can't hear a darn thing you're saying. And so the doctor told me last week, you get one. But now I've had a little week, I'm getting ready to have a belly button birthday. And I was like, you didn't need to tell me that. That's not going over too well. But I've gotten used to it now. Anyway, this was my home group before I moved to the mountains. My sobriety date is June 4th, 2001. I'd be lying, which I was prone to do, if I told you that my sobriety has been always easy. But what I can say to you, it is much better. My life is so much more, such an improvement over what it was before. My home group now, although I don't tell them this, but I still consider y'all my home group, really. But it's the big town group in Etowah, or as the Cherokees say, Etowah, outside of Hendersonville, North Carolina. We meet on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. On Sunday nights we do history sometimes we do a tradition, sometimes we do a step, sometimes we do a concept, and everybody starts flying out of the room. And on Fridays, we have a speaker meeting, and Cynthia's going to return the favor. And we meet at 7 o'clock. So if y'all are ever going to be up in the mountains, please let me know, and I'd love to have you. I'm supposed to tell you what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. I can tell you that, and I don't know that I was an alcoholic at age 5 or 6. All I remember is we were sneaking in the refrigerator, so I was lying already, and getting some of my uncle's Black Label and Pabst Blue Ribbon. And all we had to take at that age was just a couple of sips. But you know what? And it was another age 12, probably before I ever drank any alcohol whatsoever. But I remembered what it did for me. That it made me funny, it made me giggle, and I liked it. And I felt normal. Now that was a big deal, even at a really early age. So when I drank again at 12, which I think is the next time that I drank, I got that same ease and comfort and that warm feeling swirling around my brain. I'm like, I'm as good as you are. I don't have that hole inside anymore. I can do whatever I want. So anyway, I said that I didn't always tell the truth. The first lie I ever remember telling, I was cash register honest, and I still am, thank you God. Was my mother asked me where my sister's bottle was, and I was age 3. And I said, basically, I don't know. What I remember is her catching me behind the front door, drinking my sister's bottle, because I had a pretty big resentment at Santa Claus because he took my pacifier and my bottle at the same time, and I was pretty pissed off about that. But so I took my sister's, and she wouldn't quit crying, and my mother couldn't figure out what was happening, but she was hungry. So I guess I owe her amends for that. But anyway, I didn't have a happy childhood, anything but. My parents argued all the time. They fought. There was physical stuff that happened. There was one particular time, a couple actually, when we lived in Aberdeen. I remember my dad knocking my mother to the floor, knocked her out, and police coming, and me beating him with a plastic baseball bat because that was my mother. And then later on, there was a hunting knife involved, and my dad's tendon in his hand was cut. You don't ever grab the blade of a knife, just in case y'all didn't know that, but especially an angry woman, okay? So, but what I learned later was that my mother had a different disease. She belonged in a different program. I just thought she was sick, okay? And so they argued all the time. So I didn't know anything about having relationships at all. I didn't have a model for that. Except maybe my aunt and uncle that I spent summers with a lot, and their house was pretty sane, my house was not. So I wanted one of those cupcake Hallmark families, and I didn't have that. And I knew people that had it, and I wanted it, but I didn't have it. So when I started drinking, 12, 13, Boone's Farm, Lord have mercy, Wild Mountain Grape, it did for me what I needed. You know what I mean? Like, I was as good as you. I didn't care. It didn't matter. I didn't have the right clothes. None of that mattered anymore. It didn't matter that my parents were divorced. Because, back then, in the early 70s, it was kind of like in a small town, which was Rockingham, that really wasn't okay. So, anyway, I think truthfully, my first addiction was to my mother, truthfully. Everything revolved around her. I didn't know how to do anything without her. And she died when I was 18. And that was pretty hard, because when she was gone, I didn't know anything about what I wanted. I didn't know what DeLois wanted, what DeLois really liked, nothing, because I'd spent my whole life taking care of her. If she was sick, driving her to Moore County from Rockingham to make sure she got the care that she needed. She had seizures from the stuff that she was doing. It was pretty scary. And when she died, I remember distinctly the first thing that I felt sitting beside her bed was a sense of relief. And I don't think that the relief that I get by being in this program is any less than the sense of relief I felt at that time that it was finally over, And no tears, okay? And so I'm done with that. I got married right before I graduated high school to a man. I know some of y'all find that kind of funny. But I did. And, but after about 3 months, I was getting ready to stab him because, if he told me that one more time that wasn't how his mama did it, there was going to be problems. So I told him I didn't really care, blank, 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 how his mama did it, and he could go because I was done. And before we got 10 years and 3 kids down the road, we really needed to part ways. So we did. And there was the ring throwing, and I just didn't want it. It was like, get out of here, I made a mistake. And I still owe him an amends if I can find him, because that wasn't his fault. I didn't know what I wanted. I wanted out of Rockingham. That's what I wanted. But that didn't happen either. So anyway, we were good drinking buddies, and we should have left it at that, among other things. But that's between me and my sponsor. And after that, I came over here, and I attended Sand Hills Community College. I met some people from the big city of Raleigh, and they were really good drinkers, and among other things. And alcohol was definitely my thing. I am an alcoholic. That is my primary thing. Dabbled in other stuff, but out of respect for this program, I can tell you for sure that I'm an alcoholic. I'm that variety. That it did more for me than anything else ever did. I went, after Sand Hills for a little while, I went to Appalachian. And away from home, nobody's checking on what time you're coming in. It's like, I remember going in when there was a Winn-Dixie chain. I worked at the one here and then transferred up to Boone, and I'd go in there so hungover. We would party at one of the local bars, whether it was P.B. Scott's or Holly's Tavern, and I remember dancing on the tables before. I can't even dance. And, and just not caring. I didn't care what I did when I drank. I really didn't. I just didn't care. That was kind of part of it. And, but then I realized they were kind of serious about your grades. So I buckled down a little bit and passed. And one semester it might be a 2.5 or whatever you get, and then the next semester it might be 3.2, 3.4 when I applied myself. And I always hated that phrase. But there was one time that in particular, while I was up there, I had 3 other people with me in the car. and y'all have heard me say this before, there's a place up there called Howard's Knob, and for a short period of time, NASA had a huge, I mean a gigantic windmill up there, and you could hear it when you were up there go, woof, woof, I mean all the time. And so they had removed it, and but you could still go out on the rocks and look down on the city of Boone. And so we were out there drinking and stuff, and my car, so I was driving, and we were coming back down, I guess obviously too fast, and I don't know what happened exactly. All I remember is going around a curve and listening to Bob Seger singing Hollywood Nights and going, whoa, boom, off the side of the hill we go, and we catch like on a tree, but the car is like this on the tree, right? So it's really, you know, we couldn't even open the doors, it was so steep. We had to like push each other out the window to get back up to the paved road. And so it didn't bother me that night. We laughed. We laughed all the way down the mountain. I tried to call a tow truck. He said, well, we have to call highway patrol. I said, click, we're not doing that. So a friend of mine, my best friend's brother, worked at Holly's Cabin, and he came with his Ford 4x4 and with a logging chain and drug my car off the mountain when he got off work at 2 o'clock in the morning, and back up onto the road so I could drive it. It drove fine, it just had a big dent in the side. And I didn't realize, I went back up there the next day. It's like returning to the scene of the crime. And when I realized what could have happened, you know, now I know that it was the God of my understanding looking out for me. And it was only by God's grace I didn't kill anybody or myself. If that tree had not been there, that one tree, there's a good chance that somebody would have gotten hurt really bad or killed. And so I guess my point is, because when I got accepted into PA school, anything else that I was doing, even on a part-time basis, I stopped immediately. But I kept on drinking. And so even you would think maybe after that car wreck and realizing that I could have killed somebody that I might have stopped drinking, or that I might have stopped drinking and driving. That didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. So there was no beer or wine in Boone at the time. That's how old I am. I'm telling my age again. So we had to drive to Blowing Rock to get our beverages. And then I went to work in a beer and wine store. So that was cool, because then I got this discount or free sometimes. I might have been stealing. I don't know. Anyway, I think I might owe her amends. But anyway, I learned a lot about imported beer, and you know they had more alcohol in them, and I didn't have to drink as much, and I really liked the way they tasted, which was not good either. And anyway. So that's probably not the best job for a budding alcoholic to have. I still had no idea that my drinking was any kind of problem or anything. It was mostly a weekend kind of thing, although there were certainly nights during the week when we were supposedly studying. Y'all know the drill. You're supposedly doing your homework or whatever you're supposed to be doing, and but you're drinking. You're out partying and stuff. You come in late. They had to let me in the dorm. I hated that. God knows I hated that. I was so happy to move off campus. Felt like a little kindergartner. And anyway, I had several relationships in college. None of them worked out. They were all centered around drinking. Not much to say about that, and I'm going to get sober very shortly. But I've done some things in my past I'm not proud of at all. Some of those are things that I don't share when I speak. I share with my sponsor. And I didn't say that in the beginning, even though I wrote it down right there. I have a sponsor, by the way. My sponsor has a sponsor, and her sponsor has a sponsor. So, you know, I mean, there's a long lineage of sponsors. I'll just say that. They're all very dear to me and a big part of my sobriety. But after I graduated from PA school, I went to work for a heart surgery program at Bowman Gray in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where I graduated from Wake Forest. And And I really didn't drink very much. I couldn't. I was on call all the time. And I took that very seriously. I mean, I'm a big shot job, right? That fed my ego. So it was like, God, I'm like operating on people. This is pretty cool. And so unfortunately it was all hours of the night, sometimes 24 hours a day. And, but anyway, there were relationships that failed. I didn't know anything about relationships. I've had relationships in sobriety. I don't know. I'm still learning how to have a relationship with myself. I'm much better at that. But I decided that finally, I've been a PA for a long time, and I was living back here and helped start the heart surgery program at Moore Regional Hospital, and I am proud of that. For the longest time, it just fed my ego before I came into this program. Today, I can just say that I'm proud of it. I about drove a therapist crazy because I kept saying, I'm not sure I'm an alcoholic. I go home every night and I drink 2 beers. Just 2. Imported, okay, but 2 beers. And after about 5 years, I think she really just wanted to not even take my money and just kick me out. And she said to me, in terms that I could understand, DeLois, if you were going home every night and eating 2 cans of green beans, would we be talking about this every session? And I went, ding, light bulb comes on. I went, well, I guess not. And she said, why don't you just try an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting? And I went, what? I don't know about that. So the relationship I was in at the time took me to the 11-step meeting in Aberdeen. And I sat there, and again, I know you've heard me say this, but it was pivotal for me in my life. I didn't dare share anything because I felt like everybody in that room knew exactly the pain I was in. And y'all were reading my mind, you were reading my heart, and you knew what I was going through. And I could not. I just sat there, had little tears rolling down my face. I couldn't say anything. But I came back again on a Thursday night to Aberdeen, and at the time, they went around the room and everybody introduced themselves. And so I said, my name's DeLois, and I'm an alcoholic. And I felt like somebody had lifted the world off my shoulders. It was out, okay? It was a secret. Now, I still went up to the gentleman after the meeting that identified himself. If he had any questions about AA, talk to him after the meeting. I went up to him and I said, I don't know if I'm an alcoholic or not. He said, put his arm around, just keep coming back. I said, how many times did I hear that? So anyway, and I've said it to other people or in the program. But anyway, so I had my white chip, and I was off and running. There was one thing I was going to say was that, before I ever came into the rooms, this was just really driving me. I was letting it drive me crazy. It was the mental obsession, and I just didn't know what was going on. And I always felt it was like me and alcohol chasing ourselves around in a circle in my brain, and I could never catch it to do anything to it. But it seemed to keep catching me. So I actually went to what I think now is probably an addiction psychiatrist up in Durham or Raleigh or somewhere, that a friend of mine, I called him and said, Roger, I don't know. I just don't know. He said, well, go see the psychiatrist. So I went up there and he said, well, just try not drinking for 30 days. I thought, well, that sounds kind of hard, but I can probably do it. So, because I'm just that stubborn. So I did. And 30 days turned into 6 months. But I don't advise anybody that hasn't had a drink in 6 months and you're trying to stay sober to be sitting at a bar with other people who are drinking. Okay? Especially if really, unless you've been sober for a while and you're good with God and you're spiritually, pumped up and all that. So they ordered Merlot. And I was like, God, I love Merlot. And so I ordered a glass of Merlot. I was like, ooh, I missed this. And I ordered another one. Within 2 weeks, I was drinking as much, if not more, than I was before that 6-month hiatus. And it was a hiatus because I wasn't in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous at that time. And that's the progression of this disease. I was like, Lord, that's when I started driving my therapist crazy. But anyway, I came to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I got a sponsor. And she asked me immediately, she must have read my mind or something. She said, "Are you willing to go to any lengths to stay sober?" And I paused for a second and I said, yes. Because how was I going to tell that little gray-headed, beautiful woman that no? So I decided that I could do it. And so I worked the steps with her for the very first time. I stayed on the first step, though, and she let me go slow because she must have known I was kind of hard-headed, evidently. And I stayed on the first step for about a year and just didn't drink because the second and the third step talked about God, and I wasn't too sure that God had ever been there for me. I know today that He has always been there for me. And the times that I felt like that my knees would buckle under me, that in my life, that is what has carried me through, always. And I have the God of my understanding today. So I worked the steps the first time with her. I went on and worked the rest of them like a good alcoholic. And I started feeling something different. And I rode that pink cloud for a while. I was, like somebody's told Cynthia before, my hair was on fire with Alcoholics Anonymous. I was all about, helping you and saving me, and I was going to help the world not drink. And, that's good for a little while, but there comes a time when, you really need to make sure you're taking care of yourself and working your program. There's been bumps. There's been rough times in my sobriety. My father died. My sobriety date's June 4th. My father died July 13th of 2001. Just a few weeks after I quit, hopefully, for what was my last drink of alcohol. And that was pretty tough. And so my sponsor, I said, what do I do? He's going to die. He's not going to make it for me to ever work through all these steps and make amends to him. And so she helped me with that. And I went to his bedside at the hospital and told him that, and I will try to do this without crying, that I loved him. And that all I ever wanted was his approval and to know that he loved me. And he lifted up his oxygen mask. Just a second. And said that he had always loved me. And within a couple of weeks, actually pretty soon, he was in a coma, and then he died soon after. And so that was the first amends I ever made. And I've continued to make them. I still have some to make. Unfortunately, I'm 14 years sober, and I still have some to make. Some people I will never be able to find. Some people I know where they are. Just haven't got there yet. But anyway, I've fallen, brushed my knees off, got back up with the help of you when I was in this home group, helping my home group now, helping my good sponsorship, brushed myself off, and I have a great life today. I have nothing to complain about. Not my new hearing aid that's coming, not anything, none of that. I figure I have an artificial in glasses. What's a hearing aid? But if they get to me with it depends, I'm gonna be upset. So, and it's coming, okay. So anyway, somewhere around 8 years sobriety, I was trying to think this afternoon. We did a book study here, And I had my second spiritual experience with God. When we got down on our knees in that book study and we said the third step prayer, and I'll never forget it, obviously, I felt something that I had never felt before. And it has stayed with me to this day, even in the worst of times when I've pushed God away and took back my will, which I am certainly prone to do. It has stayed with me. It was a really powerful thing. And I encourage you that if they offer another book study here, to participate in that. It was really powerful. I do the best I can every day with my program. I'm not perfect. I don't read my literature every day. But what I do is I do pray every day. And I live in a beautiful place, a little tiny house in the woods with the bears and whoever else comes in the yard. And but when I step out my front door in the morning, I stop right there and look at the mountains, and I go, wow, there's nothing that the God of my understanding cannot handle today. No matter what life throws my way, there's absolutely nothing that God cannot handle. Today, I'm not working crazy hours like I was. I work a 8 to 5 job, which is quite incredible for me. I haven't in many, many, many years, at least not for an extended period of time. I was telling Steve before the meeting, I have a truck that's bigger than his. I'm very proud of that. And I didn't think the day would ever come. And but I tell you what, that thing is hard to park. You got make you get some exercise. You got to park at the end of the grocery store parking lot, and but either that or bend the mirrors in. I don't know, but I am truly blessed today. And I'm gonna sit down in just a second because I'm at the end here. But I encourage anyone who is here. And my prayer for tonight, really, and my only prayer was one, for God to remove my ego from this. And number two, and more importantly, was to say something. If you're new in the program or you're struggling, please, please talk to somebody and keep coming. I can tell you that it gets better. There have been sobriety is not always easy, but I have not had the urge nor the need to drink since coming into these rooms and really turning my will over to God and to the people in these rooms. So I am truly blessed. Like I see those license plates on the front of people's cars that say blessed, and I'm like, I might need one on my truck. But there's nothing that alcohol can fix for me today, and I know that. Absolutely nothing. Because there's been times that if a drink was going to fix anything, I would have had it. But I knew from working this program that talking to my sponsor, going to more meetings, doing whatever I had to do, would take care of it, and I'd be okay. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for this program. And I'm grateful for this home group. I miss y'all. There's a lot of new faces here. I hope you keep coming back. There's a lot of old faces. No offense. I'm the one getting the hearing aid. Not that I have a resentment about it or anything. Anyway, it just wasn't what I wanted to hear right for my belly button birthday, okay? And anyway, but I want to close. It's a little early, but I don't care. My sponsor told me when I talked to her on the phone today, the last thing she said to me is, when you're finished, sit down and shut up. I said, okay, I will. And I listen to what she says because she's pretty strict, which is what I need. I don't need somebody to coddle this alcoholic because I can run with that. Somebody in this room actually gave me this, and it's on my bathroom mirror where I go to brush my teeth every morning and whatever. And I read it every single morning. And I don't know who this person was, but it doesn't matter to me because it explains a lot for me and what I believe. And it says, when we walk to the edge of all the light we have known and we take a step into the darkness of the unknown, we must believe one of two things will happen. There will be solid, what happened to the word? There will be something, I started to say, there will be something solid to stand on, or we will be taught to fly. That's not original, it was written by somebody else, but I love y'all. I appreciate you asking me, and I'm going to sit down.